Hello and welcome. As I'm back making videos on YouTube, I thought I would try and stray a little bit outside what I've done before. While I will be doing my monthly recaps and roundups, I thought it might be nice to also make other things as well. So if I have an idea of something craft related that I want to talk about, then I'll make a little video. I have had a couple of ideas. This is the first one that I'm making. I'm not sure if I'll film the other one today, but if I do, I'll probably release it next week rather than releasing things back to back. Also, on a note of technical stuff, my audio seems to record slower than my video. I don't know how that makes sense. I'm using OBS to capture the video from a webcam and then also the audio from a lav mic, which is down here. But whenever I record it, it always seems that the video ends up being a lot like the video and the audio don't match up properly. I'm not sure how to make them match up. So, if you have any expertise in that area, I would be very grateful of your input because it would make my life a lot easier. In 2023, I started my crafting journal. I wanted to make it easier for myself to keep track of what I'm making. And also, if I put something aside, it would make it easier to pick it back up again because I knew what hook or needle size I was using, the yarn I was using, and if I'd made any notes on how I changed a pattern if I was using one that I already had. This is also when I started making the monthly roundup videos here on YouTube. I think it was also then that I imposed the finish everything that you start rule and the no more than 3 projects at a time rule on myself. Putting these restrictions on myself really helped as it meant that I was finishing everything that I'd started and I didn't overwhelm myself with too many projects. On the downside, it meant that I made a lot of things that I ended up not liking and so I never used them. Anything that I didn't like, I have since reclaimed the yarn on or I gave the items away to someone else. 2024 was pretty much the same as 2023 on how I went about things. And in fact, when I started writing some notes about this video, I thought that I'd started the journal in 2024, but it was actually the year before. In 2025, I got rid of the must finish everything rule. I've allowed myself to start something and then give up. I found that if I'm not enjoying what I'm making while I'm making it, I'm probably not going to wear or use it afterwards. So if I've made something for myself and it didn't spark joy while I was making it, it got frogged. I only frogged 11 things that I made around versus around 100 which I did finish. So it did work out for me. I still stuck with the journal and not having too many works in progress on the go. To try and maintain my yarn stash, I was only to buy new yarn if it was for a specific project, and I wasn't going to buy any new yarn just because I like the look of it and then try and find something to make with it afterwards. This did help, however, I do have a habit of overestimating how much yarn I need for a project, so I still end up with too much. And to illustrate that point, this is mostly yarn left over from things that I made for our niece for Christmas. Um, I've wildly overestimated how much I would need for it. Um, and it should have been obvious because she is, sure, at Christmas, she was about 7.5 months old. So I wouldn't need a lot of yarn to make stuff to fit her. 2026's focus will be on making sure that I use up as much from my yarn stash as possible and to be better at buying yarn for the projects that I am buying yarn for so that there's a minimal amount left over, if anything at all. I don't have an awful lot of things on my I want to make list at the moment, so the possibilities are really quite endless for what I can make. So I want to make a privacy curtain for our living room. Not for this house, but for the house that we're currently renovating. We're not moved in yet, so I don't need to start this straight away or even worry too much about it just yet. Um, I don't necessarily want it to have this pattern or be fillet crochet specifically. I might end up making granny squares. I'm not 100% sure, but the living room window is quite big, and I want to have like a privacy curtain like this along it. Um, so that we can have the curtains open during the day but still have that level of privacy. The second thing that I'd written down is this. I have a lot of buttons because I inherited the button collections of both my grandmothers when they passed away, and I've also collected a lot over the years myself as well. So I want to make something like this. I think it's called a valance maybe. You know what I mean. You can see from this picture the kind of thing that I'm talking about. I don't want to make a full length bead curtain with the buttons because I think that would annoy me, having to kind of like part the curtain every time I walk through. But for my craft room, I think it makes a lot of sense to have this on like the outside. So it's kind of like, here's a craft into the craft room, but also something that you can just walk under. You're not going to catch your head on it. I do need to check the height of the door frame versus my height and things like that to work out exactly how I want to format it. But you can see the vision looking at this example picture. You can see the vision of what I want to go for. And like I said, I have a lot of buttons. Probably won't even use half of the amount of buttons that I've got to make this thing. I also haven't decided how I'm going to make it because I don't know if it's going to be like a normal bead curtain where it's just like all on a string, or if I want to like crochet something and attach the buttons as I go, or potentially use like metal jump rings to attach through the holes, because I have seen that kind of thing as well. So when I do come to make it, I'll probably have a play around with the different methods and see if there are any others that might be useful to try, and see how I get on. If you have ever made something like that before and you have any suggestions, please let me know, because I will um I will consider any ideas and have a go if I think it's worth it. You know, I always think there's no such thing as a bad idea. Um, well, don't quote me on that, but you know what I mean. I don't have an example of it on my page, but the last thing I want to make is a colourwork jumper. So I've been watching the TV show Shetland quite a lot recently. I say quite a lot recently. I binged all of the series in the last few weeks. But basically, it's set in on the Shetland Isles, and a lot of the jumpers that people wear are these lovely colourwork sweaters. And I really like the idea of making one. The only issue I have is that I'm not very good at colourwork, so I think I need to practice on maybe some scarves or something small, or maybe some gloves. Colourwork gloves might work, um, to practice and get better at it, and then maybe make one. I also am not a big fan of like I say high necklines, anything sort of above here. You can't even see where I'm pointing properly, but you know, sort of anywhere above here, I'm not a big fan of on myself. I don't like how it feels. Um, but I could make a cardigan using colourwork. So I will have a think and kind of have a look around and see what there is, patterns wise, or come up with my own potentially. I have done some colour work. I made this poncho for our niece for Christmas, and while that does look good, that is the third or fourth attempt that I took at making it, purely because I got the proportions wrong the first time, then I was too tight with my tension the second time, so I think it is the third one. Finally got it right, but you see what I mean? It's I think it's something I need a bit more practice on before I um dedicate a lot of time to making something like that, because a sweater is quite large. I am also quite a large person, so it needs to be quite big. So yeah, that's another thing. Apart from that, I don't really have any um I don't have any plans for anything specific that I want to make. Oh, I do want to make a lamp, because in our new house is an old lampshade. Well, it's a lampshade from a ceiling light, but I want to turn it into like an upright lamp. I'm hoping that it has survived the renovation, um, so that I can actually make that lamp. But that's, you know, that depends on whether that survives or not. Thank you for watching. If you've got this far, if there's anything you're planning on making this year, let us know down in the comments. And if you'd like to find me elsewhere, my link tree is in the doobly doo. Bye for now.